You know, sometimes a headline just cuts through all the noise. The news that the Kurdistan Workers Party, the PKK, I mean, a group central to decades of conflict in Turkey is planning to disband and disarm. Well, that definitely grabbed my attention.
Oh, absolutely. This feels like it could be genuinely historic, a potential turning point with really far-reaching implications for the whole region.
It really could.
And the source is interesting too, right? It's coming via the FIA news agency, which we should note is pretty close to the PKK.
Right.
But then it's also being corroborated by statements from Turkish, Iraqi officials, all reported by Al Jazeera. So it seems to have some weight.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. For anyone perhaps just catching up, what exactly did the PKK announce according to these reports? What are the specifics?
Well, the main takeaway, as Fiat reported it, is the PKK's plan to actually dissolve its organizational structure and, crucially, to end the armed struggle.
And the armed struggle. Wow.
Yeah. Their statement apparently said quite clearly that they've completed its historical mission and that the decision came from their 12th Congress to formally terminate all activities under the name PKK.
So, a very definitive statement.
It sounds like it. A clear signal they intend to stop operations as we've known them.
And Ankara. What's the view from Turkey? President Erdogan's reaction must be key here.
It is. And the initial reaction seems to be, let's say, cautiously positive. President Erdogan reportedly welcomed it, hailed it as a move towards peace and fraternity in Turkey.
Cautious optimism seems like the right phrase.
Exactly. And Omer Selek, the AK party spokesman, he echoed that, called it a potential turning point. But this is important. He added a big condition.
Okay.
He stressed that for it to be genuine, it needs full implementation.
Yeah.
That means shutting down all PKK branches, all related illegal structures, as he put it.
Understandable, given the history.
Absolutely. We're talking 4 decades of violence, tens of thousands of lives lost. So, hope is there, but everyone's waiting to see concrete action.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Abdullah Ocalan, the PKK leader, jailed for years.
Since 1999, yeah.
Right. He apparently called back in February for the group to lay down arms. How much does his voice still matter in this?
Oh, hugely. Ocalan's influence seems paramount, even from prison. The report specifically mentioned that his perspectives and proposals were actually read out during this PKK Congress.
So his fingerprints are kind of all over this decision then?
It certainly looks that way. His February call really seems to have set the stage for this announcement. He's still a massively influential figure within the movement.
Interesting. And for those of you perhaps preparing for UPSC exams, this is a fascinating example, isn't it?
Definitely. It shows how leadership, even incarcerated leadership, can continue to shape the direction of, well, significant political and even armed movements. It's a key dynamic.
Good point. Now, this isn't just about Turkey and the PKK in isolation, is it? The regional dimension is huge. What about reactions from, say, Iraq?
Yes, very important. Iraq has welcomed the announcement quite warmly. They see it as a potentially major step towards, lasting stability in the region. Their foreign ministry statement was quite explicit.
What did they say?
They called it a significant opportunity to promote peace efforts and, crucially, to boost security within Iraq itself, especially near the northern borders.
Where the PKK has had a presence for a long time.
Exactly. That presence has been a constant source of friction with Turkey, a real headache for Baghdad.
And the Kurdish region within Iraq, the KRG.
Also positive. Nechervan Barzani, the president of the semi-autonomous region, he praised the decision too, called it a show of political maturity, said it lays the foundation for lasting peace. So you see support coming from different angles there.
So if this actually happens, if the PKK disbands in Iraq too, that could really change the dynamic on that border.
It really could. Turkey's military operations into northern Iraq have been frequent, justified by targeting the PKK. If that justification disappears, it could significantly de-escalate tensions, a major shift. Again, for UPSC students, think about cross-border conflict dynamics and sovereignty issues. This is a live case study.
Okay, so it's a big announcement, positive reactions, Ocalan's influence. But these things rarely happen in a vacuum. What's the context? What conditions might have led to this now?
Right, good question. It's likely a mix of factors. We know that after Ocalan's call back in February, the PKK did announce a ceasefire, but they also set conditions.
Like what?
Well, notably, they wanted a legal mechanism, some kind of framework for actual peace talks. They also expressed confidence that the Kurdish people would understand and support this decision to dissolve and end the fighting.
And the wider region. You mentioned implications earlier.
Yes. The sources hint at this decision being made against a backdrop of shifting regional sands.
Hmm.
Think about the ongoing war in Syria, the situation with Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Gaza conflict. It's a very turbulent time. Perhaps the PKK sees the landscape changing.
And Turkey's own actions.
Definitely a factor. Turkish military pressure, especially operations into Iraq, has certainly limited the PKK's ability to launch attacks inside Turkey recently. That has to play a role.
And wasn't there some kind of peace initiative mentioned recently?
Yes, exactly. Back in October, Erdogan's coalition partner, Devlet Bahçeli, quite a hardliner, usually launched an initiative. It even floated the possibility of parole for Ocalan if the PKK renounced violence and fully disbanded.
So there were signals from Ankara, too.
Absolutely. And Erdogan himself, back in February, called a potential dissolution a historic opportunity to, as he put it, destroy the wall of terror.
So it seems like a confluence of factors. Ocalan's call, regional shifts, Turkish pressure, maybe some political signaling.
I think that's a fair assessment. For those studying for UPSC, analyzing how these internal pressures, external dynamics, and leadership calls all interact is crucial for understanding conflict resolution processes.
Okay, so lots of potential reasons why now. But what about the uncertainties? What are the big question marks hanging over this? The potential pitfalls?
Oh, there are definitely some major unknowns. First off, what concessions, if any, did the PKK actually get for this? That's completely undisclosed.
Right. The details of that peace initiative you mentioned.
Exactly. Still very much under wraps. We also don't know the practicalities. How would disarmament work? Who collects the weapons? Who monitors it?
And the fighters themselves, what happens to them?
That's a huge question. Resettlement, reintegration, amnesty. We just don't know yet.
And Omer Selik's point about all branches.
Yes, that's critical. He specifically mentioned this decision must apply to all PKK affiliates, which immediately brings up the Kurdish fighters in Syria, the YPG, who have links to the PKK.
And the U.S.-backed SDF.
Right. Their leader has already apparently stated that Ocalan's ceasefire call doesn't apply to them in Syria.
So that adds a whole other layer of complexity.
A massive layer. It highlights a classic problem. How do you ensure a central decision is followed by affiliates, especially across borders in different contexts? That's a major challenge for any peace process. And again, something for you UPSC aspirants to consider the fragmentation within non-state groups and its impact.
Okay, so for you, the listener, maybe you're deep into your UPSC prep, focusing on daily current affairs, or maybe you're just trying to get your head around this complex region. What are the main things to take away here?
Well, for the UPSC folks, this is pure gold, really. It touches on so many core syllabus areas. You've got state versus non-state actors, conflict resolution theory and practice, the role of leadership, regional security complexes, internal security challenges, cross-border issues, peace building. It's all here.
A real-world case study unfolding.
Exactly. Yeah. Analyze the pressures, the actors, the potential spoilers. For everyone, I think it shows that even conflicts that seem utterly intractable can potentially shift. But it also underlines how incredibly complex and fragile these processes are. Nothing is guaranteed.
Absolutely. So to quickly recap, a potentially huge announcement from the PKK, disbanding, disarming, could end decades of conflict with Turkey. Seems linked to Ocalan's call, regional shifts, Turkish actions.
But big questions remain. The how, the what next for fighters, and crucially, the position of affiliated groups, particularly in Syria.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to mull over.
What do you think are the biggest hurdles now? What could realistically derail this whole thing?
Think about internal factions, external spoilers, the role of regional powers like Iran, or even international actors. Who benefits from peace and who might subtly or not so subtly prefer the status quo?
It's a complex web.
Definitely food for thought. If you found this deep dive useful, and especially if it helps with your UPSC understanding or just keeping informed, please do give us a like, subscribe for more, and definitely leave a comment if you have more questions or your own take on this.
And just to reiterate, the information we've been discussing today is based on reports from Al Jazeera.